States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Beagle,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Present.
Councilmember Behrman,
Present.
Councilmember Gotcho. Here. Councilmember Grunland Fox is excused. Councilmember Sharp.
Present.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Changes or additions to the agenda as presented tonight. City Manager Brown.
Mayor, I have no changes nor additions.
Assistant City Manager Benson.
I have none, sir.
Any from the dais? Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. If you will so indulge me, I'd like to move the memorandum from the Senior Commission request regarding commission appointments to new business number 5 for discussion and direction to the City Manager.
So be it. We will move that to new business number 5. Any other requests? All right. Seeing none, moves us to our first item on the agenda tonight is a presentation, a proclamation for Irene Carlson. I could have her come to the... Thank you. I'm really pleased and honored to present this proclamation tonight, and it reads as follows. Whereas Irene Carlson was born on July 4th, 1924 in Boston, Massachusetts, and she turned 100 years old this month, and whereas she married Reverend George W. Carson on September 16th, 1947, she was married for 56 years until Reverend Carson passed away in 2004, and whereas she graduated from Gordon College in Boston in 1947, and whereas she raised 3 children, Philip, Lois, and Steve, and whereas she taught school in Beaver, Pennsylvania for 29 years, and whereas she is a grandmother to 8 and a great-grandmother to 13, and whereas she currently resides at 2486 Winona with her daughter Lois, and whereas she has been an avid genealogist for over 30 years, and whereas she's lived during the most eventful century of this world's history, and now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council for the City of Wixom hereby honor Ms. Irene Carson and congratulate her on her 100 years of life. We hereby extend this proclamation on the 23rd day of July 2024 to Ms. Carson and wish her all the best today and every day after. Congratulations.
I never expected this to crown my 100 years. And I have been very well welcomed in Wixom. I congratulate you on the fantastic library that you have and on the spirit of the I was going to say congregation, sorry. You know where that comes from. From the personnel within the city. I thank you for this presentation. I never expected it, and it crowns the year for me. Thank you.
And I understand that you like chocolate too, so we got you a little birthday cake to celebrate tonight. You deserve it. Next up, we have approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes to approve tonight, and that's from the regular city council meeting of July 9th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of July 9th, 2024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence, we have 3 items of correspondence tonight. One is a resignation letter from Ray Cousineau from the Planning Commission and the ZBA, a resignation letter from Joan Roberts from the Senior Citizens Commission, and a notice of public hearing for the Oakland County Materials Management Planning Committee. Next up is city managers' reports for June 2024. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Resnick?
Yes, I have one on the water and sewer report, real quickly. No, Ruben. Oh, Ruben is here. Ruben, I see that we did the June testing for the fats, oils, and grease for those businesses. And I noticed that Culver's had an exceedance.
Yep.
And I would have thought, with that being the most recent build of all these, the structures for this period, that it would have already had one of the grease traps installed.
Oh, they have grease traps installed. It's just the nature of their business, hamburgers and greasy food and fries. It does produce it, and the maintenance schedule, you still have to keep up on it. So if you get a little behind, or if the demand goes up and you're putting out more food than your schedule is, you'll end up getting a little bypassed. So which is what we caught them at, and we had them clean it, and they produced the invoice for the work that was done shortly after.
So it's a maintenance issue.
It is a maintenance issue. They have to keep on schedule. They have to get it cleaned on a periodic basis.
Right. Well, thank you for the explanation.
Any other questions? All right. Moving on to the consent agenda, all items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which events the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. I have a motion and support to approve the consent agenda as presented tonight. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that moves us to the call to the public. I'll read the rules to the call to the public. They are as follows. The public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority vote of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council, and all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. Do we have anybody for the first call to the public? Seeing none, I'll close first call to the public. Move on. We have no unfinished business tonight. So we'll move on to new business. New business number 1 is a recommendation to confirm the mayor's appointment of Doris Dublazig to the Senior Citizen Commission with a term to expire June 30th, 2025. Patrick Tutak to the Cemetery Board with a term to expire June 30th, 2026. Todd Buck to the Planning Commission with a term to expire June 30th, 2027. And Austin Byer to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term to expire June 30th, 2027. Do I have a motion?
So,
Support. Thank you. Okay, this is just like a routine where if you noticed in the earlier correspondence, we had a resignation letter from a member who was serving on both the ZBA and the Planning Commission, and we're filling his spot with 2 members that are in the audience tonight. And then we had a resignation from a senior commission, and we had an opening on the cemetery board. So we have filled all those positions, and if Todd and Austin want to come up and introduce themselves to the council, and if the other 2 people here tonight.
I'm Austin. I live right up the road, actually right around the corner on Maple. I met you a few years ago when we first moved to town along with Drew. You meet a lot of people, so you probably don't remember. But I'm a young guy and I'm just interested in getting involved. So I appreciate you having me.
Okay. We appreciate you volunteering and stepping up.
I am Todd Luck. I'm a current resident of Wixom, like 5 years now. My wife is also on the board for the Downtown Development Authority, and she got me interested in, seeking a position that's kind of in my wheelhouse, which is construction management, which I've done for roughly 30 years.
Very good. And thank you for stepping up and
Thank you, sir.
helping us out. And it's very important that these positions, they're volunteer positions, and you guys are giving time away to help make the city a better place, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So with that, I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to confirm the mayor's appointments of Doris Dublizik to the Senior Citizen Commission with a term to expire June 30th, 2025. Patrick Tutak to the Cemetery Board with a term to expire June 30th, 2026. Todd Buck to the Planning Commission with a term to expire June 30th, 2027. And Austin Byer to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term to expire June 30th, 2027. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moves us to new business number 2, which is recommendation to certify Tim Sikma and Marilyn Stamper as officer delegate and alternate, and Velma Mazie as employee delegate for the City of Wixom for the 2024 annual business meeting of the Michigan Employees Retirement System. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, Chris, you want to take this?
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry, I was fumbling through the pages here. Apologize. So this is just a routine matter for the most part that happens on an annual basis. With our participation in MERS, we have a request from them to name somebody as an officer delegate as well as somebody as an employee delegate. We had an election process for the employee delegate and only had one person that was interested in the same was the case for the officer delegate. It's something that happens on a yearly basis, as I mentioned, and we've used various people's interest in it over the years, and this time we're recommending appointment of Marilyn Stamper, our finance director, as the delegate, as the alternate, and Tim Sikma as our delegate for the employee, for the officers, and then Vilma Mazie is our employee delegate from the Construction and Development Services Department. And there are some minor costs that are involved for the city in relation to covering expenses in relation to attendance at the event. So it's just a matter that we attend to each year, and we appreciate Vilma and Tim's willingness to serve in these capacities. And we're hoping the mayor and council will move on with approval with it tonight.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to certify Tim Sikma and Marilyn Stamper as officer delegate and alternate, and Velma Mazie as the employee delegate for the City of Wixom for the 2024 annual business meeting of the Michigan Employees Retirement System. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. New business number 3 is a recommendation to approve an amendment extending the police records management agreement with the Village of Wolverine Lake for 3 years and authorize Mayor Patrick Beagle to sign the agreement. Do I have a motion? So moved. Support. Very good. Chief Langmeyer?
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you know, since 2019, we've provided police records management services for the Village of Wolverine Lake. This is just an extension of that contract. The rates have changed due to our recent contractual negotiations with our officers and the changes. The amendment that we want to make to the contract reflects those changes. For the next 3 years, this year's increase would be about 5%, and then the next 2 years after that would be 4%. Wolverine Lake has reviewed this and signed the agreement. They are fine with it. They've already sent the paperwork over, so we're just looking for your approval for the mayor to sign our portion of the agreement.
Very good. Any questions? Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Langmeyer, I saw the percent increase of 5%, 4%, 4%, which is exactly the same that we're paying our police staff over the next 3 years increases, which is good. We're at least covering our costs. I feel like we're giving this away somehow. I mean, kind of, shouldn't we be covering our cost plus a little bit? I don't know.
I'm just doing what we've done in the years
know.
past, and that was strictly
Sorry, I didn't talk-
we could look at that into the future when we
It's
proceed
nice to
forward.
be nice to our neighbors, but, we're,
Yeah, that's,
sorry.
I just did exactly what we've done in the past and copied those and got these numbers from Maryland Stamper and followed the percentages that we've always followed. So could we increase it at the end of this contract? Of course, we can always explore that.
Okay, so we're at least covering our, I don't know how much work it is really to do that, but it's not on a per issue basis, right? It's a lump sum. Yeah.
It's a lump sum.
Okay.
Yes, and is there a lot of work with it? With records management, sometimes. It depends on what's going on. If there's a lot of FOIAs, if you have an incident, a lot of FOIAs and that kind of stuff, there can be. But on a day-to-day basis, it's really approving reports and keeping the records for them. So just a continuation of what we already do for our OPD.
All right. Yeah, it's a little late to be questioning it now, I suppose, but it just feels like we're maybe being more than nice to our other cities who are, in the same position we are in terms of inflation and everything else. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve an amendment extending the police record management agreement with the Village of Wolverine Lake for 3 years and authorize Mayor Patrick Beagle to sign the agreement. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business number 4 is a recommendation to approve an amendment extending the intergovernmental lockup services agreements with the Village of Wolverine Lake and the City of Walled Lake for 1 year and authorize Mayor Patrick Beagle to sign the amendments. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support. Again, Chief Langmeyer.
Again, since 2019, we've provided lockup services for both the Village of Wolverine Lake and the City of Walled Lake here. Our contract expired at the end of the year. This new amendment to the contract that we have with them, again, reflects our increases in cost due to our contractual negotiations. So a 5% increase this year, 4% for the next 2 years. Again, Wolverine Lake has already reviewed this and approved it. Walled Lake was supposed to have it in their July meeting, but they ended up canceling their July meeting, so it'll be in August. But I've been told that it's not an issue with Walled Lake either. We're just asking for you to approve the new amendments and for the mayor to sign the agreement.
Any questions?
Mayor, second time read, if you could correct a typo oversight on the reading of the language there. It's supposed to be 3-year in the subject in the recommendation.
Oh, okay.
It's only reflecting 1 year.
Do we have to correct the motion in a second too because of that, or?
I'll work on that.
Yeah, well, the motion should be amended, yeah.
Okay. So, do we have that made the
I think I
motion?
made it right, so I'll amend as stated.
Who seconded?
Tom?
I'll second that. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Behrman.
Same basic concept, it's just a percentage of the labor of the officers, but we don't have expense for food or anything associated with lodging. All we're doing is providing a bed.
We do have food expenses, but they're minimal for when they're here. This is a per-day expense, so we have the supervision, and then we do provide them with the meals that we provide with our other people also, and that's built into this cost.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. Yeah, so, thank you. Just a comment. So this one's a little different, though, because this one is on a per-issue basis.
Yes, sir.
So they have the benefit of having this kind of service that they may never use, but that's always there. We always have to be ready for them. Need to think about upping this one, I think, next year. Because it doesn't, we're spending money. It's not like this is somebody who's always on here. It takes extra effort and extra food and electricity and heat and whatever to support these the interdivisional lockups, this is like a variable cost versus an overhead that the other one is. Just feels like maybe we're, again, I know it's kind of income, but it's not really, because we might never use it. They might not send anybody here. I guess we can talk about the budget session or something, maybe a good item to look at. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Gaccio.
I'm comfortable with this. I mean, the facilities are there and always open. We have staff on site in the police department around the clock, so I don't think this is that. It's their hotel stay, basically. We're always open. There's always staff there, so. I don't necessarily, as much complaining as we've done about inflation with things that we've seen, I don't want to start raising on our neighboring cities too much. If we're covering our costs, I'm cool with that. And if it's not, and if it doesn't mean that we have to hire an additional person, like records management, we have staff doing that already. It helps just keep them busy necessarily.
Yep.
It's not that we have to pay for a new person on staff for these, so I'm completely comfortable with this. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, and it's not like we're getting meals from Wixom Station for these guys, so it's, yeah, or Valari. And maybe we could be, have our own, like, Hilton Club, and, after 10 prisoners, the 11th is free or something like that.
Get an extra hot pocket.
Yeah, there you go. So seeing no other questions, I've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve an agreement extending the intergovernmental lockup services agreement with the Village of Wolverine Lake and the City of Walled Lake for 3 years, and authorize Mayor Patrick Beagle to sign the amendments. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Chief. All right, and new business number 5 is a discussion for the Senior Commission request regarding commission appointments. Don't need a motion, but the floor is yours, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I was reading the memo from the Senior Coordinator, Melissa Burnham, and the minutes from the last Senior Commission meeting, and it reminded me of something about a decade ago where a good friend of ours, her dad passed away, and Mom moved from Chagrin Falls, Ohio, here to Oakland County, and she became very, very active with the Seniors Commission. And I remember at the time thinking, oh, she'd be just a great asset because she ran her own business and all to the Seniors Commission. And of course, with the requirement that she be a resident, she wasn't eligible for that. And what an asset she would have been. So when I read this, and the request was for up to two commissioners on the commission, which typically have 7 members, and that's 28%. But I remember, each month we get the report from the Seniors Commission, and it does show about a 33, sometimes even more % of non-Wixom attendees and active participants in the programs. So I think it's a very valid request. There's some talent out there, and there's very active members that might live in Walled Lake, or they might live in Wolverine Lake, as this particular person did at the time. So I'd be very much in favor of that particular commission allowing up to 2 commission members as non-residents of Wixom, but active in the program. So I don't know what other council members think after reading that memo.
Councilmember Gaccio?
I'm fine with that as well, since the membership is comprised of both residents and non-residents, and it's not really a authority board, if you will, like planning commission or ZBA, where things don't come to us ahead of time. So I think that would make sense. Reading the memo, I think the point they hit on is we don't, as council, we just have to be open to it. I don't think we need to make a change in anything. Just if the mayor wanted to appoint a non-resident, we could have done that.
Thanks. Would we have to change anything if we
Absolutely
wanted
not.
to change? Okay, so we can just
It's just, this is just sort of to put it in your mind that you know that the senior commission has asked for this because of some of the things that Deputy Mayor Resnick mentioned, other things that were covered in the communication and other things. It makes sense in this circumstance, and they just wanted to put it on record that they would be okay with that. And you have the right as the mayor and council to appoint somebody who's a non-resident if that's something that you want to do. And we mentioned the two-person or two non-resident minimum or maximum, just from the standpoint that way, like even if there was only 4 people present for a meeting, and 2 of them are non-residents, you'd have to have at least 1 resident that was in favor of an action. So that's why we went all the way down to just 2. Just to make sure there wasn't a big concern there. So I think that there is no action required. It's just sort of an informational piece from the senior commission.
We don't need to make a motion or anything like that? Okay, very good. Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mayor Beal. I just want to throw in my support for the idea as well. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad it was brought up. So if there was a motion, I'd second it.
Very good. Very good. Any other questions? Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Deputy Mayor Resnick. Just if there's talent out there, we've got a really strong program, and it's getting bigger, and we can draw in more people and appeal to residents and non-residents alike. It should be a positive for the city. So I support the suggestion.
I can support that idea too. Are you good with this? Yeah. Okay, very good. All right, and with that, concludes the new business portion of the meeting tonight, and we'll move on to the second call to the public. I won't read the rules to the call to the public, but they are the same as the first, with the exception of you can speak whatever's on your mind.
Russ Meredith, 378 Fletcher. Just want to comment, for the last couple of years, the Parks and Recs Commission, Parks and Recs, the library and DDA have been working on developing a new playground by the library. It finally got open, and if you've not had a chance to get over and take a look at it, because the people in the city are using it, really enjoy it. I go by there almost every night on my bike, or encounter neighbors coming back from it, and they really appreciate the fact it's larger than the old one. There's towers, age-based towers over there. So I think it was a really good project, and I'm really glad that we worked together and got such a good job done. We'll applaud Deanna and her crew for the work they did on getting it accomplished. So that's it. If you haven't been over there, it's, parking lot's here, it's there, it's, short walk even for people our age, so you should be able to make it okay. Good night, guys.
Thanks, Russ. Eddie?
I work for someone my age.
There's benches.
Yeah, there's benches. If it's too far, there's benches and tables. People love it. Yeah.
Anybody else for the second call to the public? Seeing none, I'll close the second call to the public. Move on to city manager's comments. City Manager Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. So city manager update, I'll cover a couple things on there. We've got employees celebrating work anniversaries ranging from 1 year on up to 22 years for Andrea Dixon, our library director for Wixom. So congratulations and thank you to all the employees that are celebrating those anniversaries. They're a critical part of everything that we do in the city. We're fortunate to have as great an employee base as we do. Very appreciative of all their efforts, and congratulations to everybody that's celebrating a work anniversary in this month of August coming up. The second thing is DPW. There's a couple things in there. Just a little bit of an update on the priority waste thing. We have switched to priority waste as our waste hauler, as you know, in the month of July. And predictably, there have been a few issues that have been occurring with people's garbage collection as well as yard waste. And we're just asking people to have some patience on that front. When you do have an issue, make the calls that you need to make to get it identified so that we can get it corrected. And we're hopeful that that will continue to get smoother and better as the process continues. And one of the things that I would like to talk about is one of the value adds that Priority Waste is promising to the city is technology, and that's also some of the things that are causing additional delays. There's been a transition in fleet from the prior provider GFL to Priority Waste, and there were some issues in relation to some of the problems that were present in the individual pieces of that fleet that have been addressed, that have been issues. And then also they're just adding technology to the fleet vehicles that are being switched to them or have been switched to them. They tout that as one of the value adds that they're going to bring. There's cameras that are going to be all over the equipment. When there's concerns about a service issue, once things settle down and once things have fully transitioned, if somebody has an issue with something that hasn't been picked up or claims that they had something at the curb that hadn't been picked up, There's going to be an easy way to identify that and document that from these cameras and whatnot that are mounted on the vehicles. They have GPS that's being attached to the vehicles. They'll know where the vehicles are at all times and can track them on their day-to-day work. So that's part of what's slowed things down, but that will be something that will improve the service in the long run. So we're just asking people to have some patience as the new hauler gets situated and acclimated to doing business in Wixom. If you've read some of the press that's in relation to this, this was a massive increase in book of business, if you will, for Priority, and that's part of what's causing some of these issues as well. But we're hopeful in the long run it's going to be a solid upgrade for us in terms of the quality of the service, so just bear with it as we get through some of the issues in the initial transition.
I hope they paint their trucks soon, because my neighbors are very confused. They're like, I thought we have a new carrier, but the GFL is still picking up our trash.
Right.
No.
That will come later as well. That's not the first priority for them. They're trying to get the technology on there, but they will ultimately convert them in that regard to priority waste colors are yellow as opposed to the nice green that GFL was in the past. So look for that as well. The second thing is the Loon Lake Road. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Councilmember Behrman?
I just had one question on priority waste. Are they ordering the same green recycle garbage cans we've had? Because I noticed for one of the new subdivisions they had a yellow garbage can, and I thought that was the entire point in the beginning. We didn't want different colors throughout the city.
Tim can answer that.
So as new business or new companies, residents come into the city, they will be getting yellow cans. They didn't feel that the expense of swapping out the cans was worth the expense from the customer's perspective. They're about $165 a piece, and if they're useful, they didn't feel that rebranding them and everything was necessary at this time. Obviously, as things change, and if we go to Cart Plus in the future or something like that, they would become yellow at that point.
Wasn't that a benefit we negotiated in the contract? There's the fact that we wanted the cans to be consistent throughout the city?
We negotiated that with GFL.
Which is why we didn't replace them.
Which, yeah.
And GFL ordered waste management colors so they didn't clash throughout the city.
And that's, well, the GFL colors are a little bit more of a lime green, and the waste management ones are a darker green. So there are a number of different colors out there already. But again, the expense that either the community or Priority Waste would need to expend on that is...
Well, I don't think replacing the whole city was necessary, but I just, I thought how GFL ordered some in waste management colors to make it consistent, if Priority could have continued that so we didn't have 3 different colors floating around, it would have looked nicer, but I guess the decision's already been made, has already been made.
Yeah, that wasn't part of, well, the agreement has already been met with GFL, and Priority Waste just purchased the contract from GFL. So yeah, there isn't another purchase that was worked into the annual cost for the resident, and that's the other piece of it. Moving forward, as you know, that if there's a new resident, though, they will be getting the yellow colors, and that's the Priority Waste color is yellow.
Same size?
There are 3 different sizes. There's a 32 gallon, a 64 gallon, and a 96. If we do go to a Cart Plus, I would imagine that they're going to want to have a 96 gallon container for trash, just to ensure that most of the trash gets placed in the bin. And you can offer or ask for a 64 gallon. Most of the 32s, which are the smallest ones, are really not used in as much anymore.
Thank you.
And if I can just chime in a little bit just on the Cart Plus thing, because it's a term of art there that some people might not understand. So currently we only have the carts for the recycling, but there is an option to go to having a cart for garbage as well, which makes pickup more easy and more efficient for the carrier. So that's something that we are going to probably take a look at and just do some research on and do some due diligence on, provide some information to council for consideration on that. ultimately, we can make the decision to switch to that or not make the decision to switch to that. But just for informational purposes, we'll put something out on that ultimately once we get the opportunity to get things settled down and moving forward. So that's what CART Plus is referring to. A lot of our surrounding communities are using the CART Plus service because it does, it sort of eliminates some of the, as Councilmember Behrman was talking about, in terms of some of the aesthetics. It does improve aesthetics in terms of not having garbage laying around in willy-nilly fashion, multiple bags laying on the ground, or things that are not in bags on the ground. You get this large 96-gallon cart, and it holds quite a bit, and it can clean up the look of it and allow the efficiency to improve for the carrier, and which would also improve service for the residents ultimately, possibly. So it's worth looking at. We'll bring some information at some point to the council on that, but that's not something we're pursuing currently.
Very good.
And that's all I had for my city manager update. There's obviously a bunch of dates on there about upcoming stuff that's happening with the concert series and other things. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them tonight or get back to you if I need to.
All right. Assistant City Manager Benson, do you have anything?
Just one comment. You all have likely seen on North Wixom Road that some of the green or orange fencing is going up around the rental redevelopment area buildings. We are getting closer to being able to start the demolition there. These abatement processes in the buildings are nearly complete, and I believe they're actually there's a mandatory 10-day kind of review process or period. So we're anticipating early August is what we're aiming for getting those buildings demolished. The only key thing that's still outstanding is a certain utility company owes us some disconnect confirmation. So looking good, but just wanted to give you an update. I know folks have started to see the fencing. We've been answering some questions on that, but to keep you guys in the loop, that's all I have.
Very good. Madam Clerk, do you have somebody you'd like to introduce tonight?
I do. My deputy clerk, Haley Hilton, is here. She comes from Farmington, and she was the deputy clerk before Wixom, and she's been with us for a little over a month, almost 2 months now, actually. So.
Very good. Welcome. Officially welcome. All right. And with that, I'll move on to council comments. Councilmember Behrman.
Thank you. Thank you to the individuals and volunteers that stepped up to join our commissions. I appreciate everyone who's done that. Thank you to our police chief for his memo he got us this last week regarding the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting. Was that able to be shared with the resident that came to the meeting last week?
I have not.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if it seems like that might be beneficial for her concerns she had. And then lastly, the only thing I'd like to mention is just the Amazon building that seems to be ever growing, changing. I drove by it the other day and I noticed they've added a bunch of equipment to the parking lot, electrical equipment. It appears to be maybe generators. I don't know, but what they are. It's clearly been added in what used to be parking spaces, and they put yellow poles around it, but I can't imagine that that's something that Planning Commission would have approved without some sort of screening, which is around all the electrical equipment that's right next to it. It just seems like there's a lot changing with that building that us on council, at least myself on council, didn't envision being. I mean, the windows we discussed thoroughly already, but it is what it is. They added telephone poles right in front of that building, a telephone pole that wasn't there before. They've added a bus stop looking shelter in front of the building. Has any of this stuff gone before planning, site review, or is this stuff that's being administratively approved?
I'll have to double check specifically on the utility equipment if that's in the front yard. I'm not as familiar with that piece right offhand. I will tell you, yes, they've been working through various review processes. A lot of these smaller items, especially on properties of that size, they are administratively reviewed. They're oftentimes just requirements of individual tenants. So to a degree, that's not that unexpected. I will need to double check specifically on the front facade. No, Planning Commission has not been had not specifically reviewed any of those particular changes. Again, my understanding, just kind of off the cuff, I haven't looked at their updated plans lately, but a lot of it's just kind of minor modifications. I know I'm familiar with the shelters. I believe, again, I need to go look at where those are specifically, but I know we've discussed those as kind of places for their employees to be able to spend time, when they're not in the shop. But yes, most of that is administratively reviewed as opposed to, going back for new site plan approvals for every individual modification.
Well, I definitely think the equipment that was added to the parking lot should be screened. I don't think Mr. Councilmember Sharp would know better than I, but when you were on Planning Commission, nothing would have been approved like that without screening, correct?
And the air conditioning units on the roofs have to be screened.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of not follow through on our site plans with that development in particular. So if there's anything that we could do to try to make it look a little bit more presentable, it would be helpful.
No, absolutely. We will look into that, and we do have screening requirements for utility equipment. I do know that they're under process, so I couldn't tell you specifically what the end outcome is just right offhand, but I will tell you that the screening requirements are commonly discussed. They do not have a certificate of occupancy. They can't operate yet. So in some cases, and I'm not saying about all of the things, but they might be, as an example, part of the way through an individual improvement, and there are still additional pieces to be done.
But for example, like Longhorn and Chipotle, they were issued a temporary certificate of occupancy 2 years ago, and they still haven't added the fencing on top of their brickwork. I mean, there's no follow-up happening with these. And I don't know, I mean, now that because we haven't been staying on top of them to finish their site plan, I mean, they probably don't even, the manager there probably doesn't even know that they're supposed to still be doing that. But they've never added their brick or their fencing on top of the brickwork, and it doesn't match everything else throughout there.
Sorry, I'm taking notes here.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gotcho.
Thank you. I also wanted to thank our new board and commission members for volunteering their time and efforts. And that is all. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Ms. Hilton, and nice to put a face with a name. Thank you for being here tonight. And I wanted to thank Mr. Buck and Mr. Byer for their volunteering on the planning and ZBA, two very important commissions. They're all important. But we just heard about planning, and there's a lot of minutes in there. But I did want to comment specifically on the ZBA. I don't know how thoroughly you looked at their minutes. They had 3 requests for approval on a variance, and all 3 were rejected. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I know that's what the ZBA is supposed to do, and they did it. And I applaud them for sticking to their guns in the face of other attorneys coming in and saying, this is why you should approve this variance, and they didn't approve them. I don't know what happens now. But I was thinking about, we've talked about enforcement and code enforcement and all. It could be some of their neighbors were getting annoyed by knowing that they had unvarianced, unwavered installations going in, and they turned them in. It's unfortunate that we have to do that neighbor versus neighbor, but until we get our planned code enforcement officer, that's what some are resorting to, including myself. I've requested some code enforcement inspections, as some of you know. So I was happy to see the ZBA taking action and sticking to the, probably not appropriate terminology I use, but sticking to the ordinance and going for the enforcement and doing their jobs, frankly. So thank you to all the volunteers. That's it.
Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. I also want to thank the new folks, but I also want to say thank you for the service of Mr. Cousineau and Ms. Roberts, for their time in the past. I'm pretty sure Mr. Cousineau has been there quite a while. Also, it was very lovely to finally meet Ms. Hilton and Ms. Carson. 100 years, that's so amazing. I'm sorry she's gone. I would love to have asked her, what her secret is. I think she probably gets that question a lot. But perhaps it's best she's gone, because I probably am not following any of the things she would suggest. That's all I have, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Irene Carson, for your 100 years. What a century you lived through. A lot happened. Like I said, it was probably one of the most exciting periods in our history. Thank you, Chief, for the increased patrols on Charms. I really noticed a difference. A lot more blue lights are flashing, so more people are getting pulled over on Charms, and hopefully fewer of those cut-throughs from the gravel haulers down to Funeral Road. Also, thank you, Council, for the discussion on the Senior Commission request, which I think it was a good thing to do. Welcome aboard, Haley. And one comment on the demolition, we got to make sure that if it slips further, it doesn't interfere with the start of the school year, because already we have traffic issues on Wixom Road when school's in session, twice a day. So let's make sure if it does slip, we have some close contact with the school district on the start of the school year and when buses are going to be flowing through there. So, okay. All right. That was it. Thank you.
Very good. And I want to thank Mr. Kuzno and Ms. Roberts for their service to the city on their various committees, and thank you to the new ones who are stepping up. Congratulations to everybody who's celebrating a work anniversary, especially our clerk, Ms. Opelko. 11 years. Seems like 20, right?
20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Hey,
So great.
My condolences go out to Councilmember Grelin Fox's family for the loss of her stepfather. And Deanna, we pass my thanks to Melissa and Kathy and Cindy. The concert series this year, the crowds are great. Everything, the bands are outstanding. I'm not saying that we've never had good bands before, but the first time last week I had numerous people come up to me after the concert saying, get that band back next year. I mean, there's more people dancing and having a good time, and that's what those are all about, and I appreciate all the work that you guys are putting into those, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. And last but not least, happy birthday to our city manager, Steve Brown. And Steve, I didn't want you to feel left out too, so I brought you a birthday cake also. So.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. It's a favorite.
All right.
Great choice.
You're singing?
No, I'm not going to sing. No, as I'm told, people sing that song, so I don't have to. So we'll just leave it at that. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Happy birthday,
Opposed?
Steve.
Thank you. Good night.